co-parenting with somebody who doesn't want to meet you halfway or in the middle is the hardest thing ever.
I already knew from the jump it was going to be a challenge if we separated. I was aware of it, but was I ready for it? God, no. You know, she was like, hey, yeah, I'll go with you, you know? And I was thinking to myself, like, well, what about, you know, your other son? And like, well, wherever I go, you know, he goes type of thing. And I was like, oh, hell no. Because, you know, he just said, you know, you got to get along for the child. Mm-hmm. And if you come back here still not able to get along, then I'm going to make a decision. And it's going to be a decision that one of you may not like. So we did a co-parenting for a whole year. And I always advise that to people when they're going to court and going for custody, but mainly if you can't get along. I always recommend that. I always recommend to request for the judge to at least do, 6 months or a year, whatever it is that you feel like you need, because you can't do a couple months of therapy and be like, okay, I'm good now. No, it takes time. You got to peel the layers. Mm-hmm. So when we did the co-parenting in the first couple sessions, it was awful. It was just us just going at it. Luckily, our son wasn't there, but it was just us expressing all of our emotions, which sometimes it's necessary. You need to just let it all out.
Yeah.
And they need to hear it. Whether they agree with it, not agree with it, whatever. You just need to let it out. And then it was just nice having that middle person that's in the middle who has no ties to either of us, where they could put perspective in both of us and question, well, why are you doing that? No, well, you're not thinking about this. And so, and then plus knowing, and us knowing that, like, they're writing all this stuff down. So if we're sitting there saying some crazy stuff, that judge is going to know. So co-parenting definitely helped us, or I could say helped me. I don't know about helped her, but definitely it helped me. So that's a big recommendation that I would recommend. Now, let's just say in the past, let's say when you went for custody, would you have gone to a co-parenting, like a co-parenting a class or anything like that, like once a week?
Yeah, if I knew that this would be my outcome, I definitely would have. I didn't think at the time that we needed anything like that. Again, he's not a horrible person. He's not a bad person. He's still the father of my son. Our visitations were, he had them Wednesday and every weekend. So there were times where it's like, if I had something planned on the weekend, it sucks to say it this way, but I would have to like request my son and be like, hey, can I have him for whatever it is that we're doing? Sometimes it was yes, sometimes it was no. When it's no and you really want your son there, you're mad, you're bothered, you're upset, your feelings are hurt. And then, it just felt like sometimes, well, I did this, I gave you him this weekend, so now I want him X amount of days during the week. And it's just like, it's like a tit for tat type of thing, where it's just like, that's why you can't co-parent. When someone's holding something, oh, well, I did this for you last week, so now do this. And it's like, it's not about that. It's like, if you really didn't want to do it, don't do it, because I don't owe you anything. Like, this is our son. And any parent would say, Monday through Friday parents, you can't do anything with your kids really, because it's work, school, home, cook, to bed.
And so what was your schedule like with your son with him? Like, what was?
So he had him every Wednesday and then Saturday and Sunday. And it stood like that up until our son was 15, 16, because now he's in high school.
He wants to be with his friends.
He has his friends. He's going to his dances. So little by little, he started to, I don't want to go this weekend. Can I stay type of thing. And, and his dad was very like accommodating to that for him. And again, because it wasn't for me, it was for him. Our son would call him and say, Papi, can I stay and stuff like that. He's like, yeah. But he would get bothered. He would get hurt. And again, he's a very present dad. His dad is very emotional, and it does hurt his feelings when our son doesn't want to go with him sometimes, but it's like that comes with age, where even us, we all hit a certain age where it's like we don't want to hang out with our parents anymore.
Yeah.
That's why we are to cherish these moments with our kids until that time comes.
And we're no longer the cool part of the cool crowd. I would say, I would ask you, would you recommend if because definitely I tell people, I'm all about going to court. I mean, if you could obviously co-parent civil and don't have to do the court system, I obviously recommend that. But for just the safety of both parents, I always recommend to someone who's maybe getting divorced or splitting up, go to court, get it documented. It just protects everybody,
both parties.
It does, because unfortunately there are circumstances, and I was unaware of this, but by law, if let's just say if there was no court order or anything like that, and the mom and the dad doesn't want to return back that child for whatever reason, they're not obligated to, and there's nothing that the cops can do about it. Even if you say, unless they forced themselves into their home and took that child, there's nothing that they can do. So for just the safety and the well-being of both parties and the child, like I always recommend to go to court if you guys can't co-parent.
Yeah.
So what has co-parenting taught you?
It's tested me, and I'm gonna cry, in so many ways, because my goal has always been, as a mom, to give my kids the best. And I feel like I didn't do that.
Why?
For the simple fact that I didn't choose the right partners. Not only that, it's like I wasn't able to co-parent. My goal was for him and I to both have a party for Isaac on his 18th birthday. Like, that's what my goal was, to have us both there and present for him on his 18th birthday. Like, I was willing to put my pride, my ego, everything to the side for our son.
And why didn't that, or why it was not happening?
Because this man does not respect me on every level. And I called you, I think a couple of weeks ago, and it was on a Friday, and he texted me, and he was asking me for a favor to do for him. Nothing related to our son. And every time he would text me, I would get anxiety. Every time, because I felt like this person still perceived me as the same person that I was when we were married. And I've evolved so much since then. And when I sat there with myself, I was always so angry with him. Like, can't stand him. And it finally hit me that, Monique, you're not mad at him. You're mad at yourself. You're mad at yourself because you're self-reflecting on who you used to be and what you used to tolerate and put up with. And that's no longer you, so it eats at you. because you allow certain behaviors to happen. And my son knows, our son knows that I tried my best. And if it were truly up to me, like if I had all the power, I would make it happen. I would want to do that for him. But again, everything takes two.
What was the, like, what were you guys going to do it at? What was the...
We were going to have it at the clubhouse where we live at. And I was already, you know, I had even told his mom, like, hey, you know, I want to have a big party for him. You know, can you even cook food? She's like, yes. Like, it was something that I really wanted. But one thing that I will not do to myself is allow myself to be disrespected. And especially by my ex-husband and the father of my child. And I can't make somebody see that they disrespect me. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why a lot of women have a hard time co-parenting with men, because, and vice versa, because I feel like a lot of women like to have power and control and manipulation. But it's the disrespect. It's the constant disrespect where it's like we just don't see eye to eye. So we'll never be able to advance in any decision when it comes to our child. And it's very unfortunate because, God forbid, we had to make a lifelong decision. Who knows if we'd be able to make that?
Yeah, no, it's tough. And on a separate note, like, Mo, you're a great mom. There's no denying that. You've been with those boys since the day they were born, 16 years old, a child, but you were still present. We all make mistakes, so don't beat yourself up. You're a fucking great person. You're a fucking great mom, and don't let anybody tell you anything else. And if you want to throw that party for your son, I know maybe you can't throw on his birthday. Still do it. Because you have a team. It's not just you and you're not by yourself. You have a whole fucking army behind you. So utilize it. So that's I'm just gonna just leave that as that. But now that you're here and you kind of fully grasp everything, what do you think you would change?
You know, my kids, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, our kids are never mistakes. They're a blessing, but everything comes with a lesson. And for anybody who, I swear I'm so passionate about this, anybody who truly wants to have a child, be so intentional on who you choose as your partner. Like, make sure that you guys are in alignment. Make sure that your values are either the same or similar. Make sure that, you know, you guys are going to raise that child. Like, maybe one wants to spank, maybe the other one doesn't. Maybe the other one wants to, you know, have them become overachievers. The other one's okay. Like, all of this needs to be talked about before you lay down and procreate with somebody. If I can give anybody advice, because I don't want to say if I can go back and do this all over again, but if I can give anybody advice, is get to know your person. If anything stands out to you in any way, shape, or form, just ask yourself, is this who I would want side by side with me raising my child? If something were to happen to me today, would I be okay with this man or woman raising our child for the rest of their lives? Is this person the person that I would leave our child with, knowing that they're going to make the best decision for them and with them? And I think that these are all things that like we don't really think about.
No, and it's hard because most of the time, I would say a good percentage of children that are conceived, it's in the heat of the moment. I would say 9 times out of 10, it's in the heat of the moment. So, and then people change. Like we could be in a relationship, and then we have a child, and then you just change, or he or she just changes. You're like, fuck, I never knew this is who you were. If I've known this is who you were, I would have never. So it's that. I feel like it's very challenging.
But I feel like it's very hard for you to change for the worse unless something drastic in your life has happened. Now, when you're set in who you are and you're intentional with that, that's who you are until something happens or people start to come into your circle and kind of steer you away. But when you have something so solid, that's kind of hard. Like, yes, we do change, and we should be changing and evolving for the better, never for the worst or for the different. Like, it should be better. But I get, some people, but again, it's your surroundings, your circle, who you're allowing in your life. Yeah, if you're in a relationship, you can't control that, but you can kind of like, hey babe, I really don't think that so-and-so's here with good intentions. Okay, well, what is it that you're seeing that I'm not seeing? Oh, well, I'm seeing this and that. Oh, okay, well, you know what? You're right. Maybe I'm going to take a step back and whatnot. But it's better to ask questions than not ask any questions.
Well, personally, I believe that if you do go to court, it should be mandatory that you guys do co-parenting. Because if obviously you're there for a reason. You're there that you can't get along. So that should be number one. That should be mandatory. 1 year co-parenting once a month. And there should be repercussions for that parent if there's conclusive, solid evidence that child or that parent has poisoned that child or has hurt that child in a psychological manner, meaning that, like, if you're talking bad about me and there should be repercussions for that individual. People need to be taught lessons as a parent, because being a parent, it's not a co-parent. It's very simple, because it's about respect, maturity, and you have to accommodate. That I had to learn, accommodate, because I don't handle change very well. But like, for instance, she wanted to put him in the after school program. And I was like, no, like in my mind was like, no. But again, I had to like change. I don't do well with change. So I had to take a step back. Kind of get some guidance from different sources. And I realized, you know what? This after school program is going to be beneficial towards him. It's going to be beneficial towards him because they're going to be teaching him. Because I was like, well, I want to help him with his homework and this type of things. But like, the way we were taught in school compared to how these young kids are taught in school is completely different. So if anything, I may, even though I want to help him, I may make it more challenging for him to learn their way, me teaching him my way. So I had to take a step back and and accommodate. You know what? Let's try it. Let's try it for a year. So I think that is my biggest advice to the listeners out there when it comes to co-parenting. Like, check your emotions. I get it if he or she cheated on you or fucking did some dumb shit. Like, you have to separate that. Being a parent and being a partner are two different things. If that parent is showing up for the child, is in their child's life, then you should respect that. You should respect that and figure out a way to work, to make it work, because you have no choice. You could sit there and argue and fight and this, but you're just wasting so much of your energy and your time, all because you can't control your emotions. And that's why I'm really big on the whole co-parenting therapy thing. I'm so big on that because this just allows people to just let it out, and move forward. And like I said, for me, it's now I'm 30. It's so fucking simple. It's simple, but it's emotions. That's really what causes so much tension in co-parenting. It's control and emotions, because a mom feels or dad, mom feels like, well, hey, that child was inside me. Wherever, at least this is the feedback that I would get. It was child was inside me. Wherever I go, he goes type of thing. And it's like, no, absolutely not. Like if you're a mom and that dad is showing up for that child, you should feel so blessed and grateful that they have a loving father or a loving mother. So things need to change, and people really need to take accountability. And there needs to be fucking harsh punishments for parents that damage their kids. Harsh punishments.
Well, one thing.
And like you said, you know how you're very passionate about it? I'm the same way.
There's one thing that I remember telling CJ when he had Melody. And this is something that sticks with me because I've done it myself. And the reason why I say it is because it's something that I came to realize as parents. We fuck up our own kids without realizing that we fuck up our kids. And I was just like, I have to share that with him because he's young. He was a young parent, not as young as I was, but he was young. And when you're young, you make really dumb and stupid decisions because you're still a child yourself.
Yeah.
And if you have nobody there guiding you, molding you, teaching you, encouraging you, supporting you, and you're just riding the wave on your own, guess what? You and that kid, you guys are just trial and error, seeing what sticks, what doesn't stick, what works, what doesn't work. And it's like, but this is a whole child. Like, this is someone's life that you're fucking with. Like, it's not just you. You have somebody else that depends on you and relies on you and looks up to you and is learning from you. So, like, you better make sure that you're doing the best that you possibly can.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then also, like, don't be a bystander. Like, if you're noticing, if you're a friend, family member, and you're noticing, like, man, this couple right here, or like maybe your brother, your friend, and they're just going at it, you gotta pull them to the side. I know people, and that's the problem. People don't want to get involved. Like, oh, that's their business. Like, fuck that. Like, no one's sitting here and say to, like, be all chismoso and all that. But if you're coming from a good place, you should never feel wrong for doing the right thing.
And see, so many people, like, if you see a woman getting hit in public, a guy will want to take flight. But when it's within your own circle or family, you'll, like,
oh yeah, it's none of my business.
Turn the eye. And it's like, and that's what's wrong with people. It's like we pick and choose what we want to battle. And it's like, no, be transparent, be universal, be the same with everybody, carry that same energy, because that's the only way that we're going to break cycles, is if we're consistent with everybody around us and we hold people accountable. Like I'm saying, the difference is, I'm saying I wish that I could have co-parent. Now, my story's not over yet with this person. Even though 18, I don't personally have to answer his phone calls or text messages in regards to our son because my son's now of age. Can my son make all of his decisions? No, absolutely not, because he's still living under my roof. But can he give me his thoughts and his opinions on what he wants to do? Yes, of course. Now, if he were to want to have a birthday party, get married, whatever the case is, I'm going to have to put my pride to the side, and it's like attend my son's function for him. And it's like, and I'm able to do those things. But do I wish that I would be able to maybe plan things together with him and join forces and make it be what I would want for our son? Absolutely. But again, my story's not over with him. Who's to say that it won't happen in 5 years, 10 years? I don't know. It's like all I can do is remain hopeful and pray on it.
And final thoughts. Like let's close this up. I mean, this is a conversation that we could go on for a long period of time. We're both very passionate, emotional about this. But what are your final thoughts now?
So just to sum up co-parenting in general, as we mentioned, this is about the child. This is not about you. This is not about him. This is not about her. This is about the child you guys both decided to bring into this world. And it is not fair to this child that either one of you cannot put the past in the past or move it to the side, whether it be for that day, that hour, those 10 minutes. We're constantly sacrificing ourselves, and our children are our daily sacrifice. And I think that we should be able to do that for them. And that's all I would say is, keep pushing forward and persevere to be the best parent that you can to your son or daughter.
I would say, my final thoughts is, as I was piggyback what you just said, is be positive about it. Things change. Things aren't going to be like this forever. Learn to compromise. Be respectful. Even if that person doesn't feel the same way about you, doesn't respect you, that's fine. Because as long as you're present, as that child grows, he or she's going to realize that you were there for them, regardless of what the other parent said about you or whatnot. So, and also fight. Fight for your rights to be with your child. Don't give up. Be the best parent that you could be. Because all these kids need is just positive role models and love. That's what they really, really need. And put your ego, put your pride, put your emotions to the side. And if you're struggling with that, then get the help that you need. And because that's going to benefit not only yourself, but it's going to benefit your kids. The moment you have kids, it's your kids are first, and you're second. But in order for you to be that best parent, you really need to be the best version of you, and that's allowing all those emotions with that part to just let go, and just be the best parent that we can be, because that's what we need. We need just positive, healthy, loving kids for our future. Because we've seen what it's like when we turn on the news, and we've seen what some of these kids can do when they're misguided. They do a lot of dumb shit. Not to sit here and say it doesn't happen when you have two co-parenting parents that are loving. I'm not saying that, but I would say statistics wise, it's a lot lower.
And one thing that I like, a phrase or a quote, is be that person that you always wanted as a kid. Like, be that person to your children. So whatever you didn't have, give it to your kids. And whatever you took from your parents that felt so good to you and you gravitated towards, pour that into your kids. Because this is why our kids are the way that they are, is because either something that we don't give them, it's a lack, it's a want, or a need. and it's up to us to be able to give that to them. And the last thing is, I remember asking my kids not too long ago was, what can I do to be better? Like, is there something that I'm lacking? As your children get older,
talk to them.
Yeah, talk
about
to
yourself.
Them. Ask them questions like, what can mommy or daddy do to be better? Or is mommy doing a good job? You know, does mommy yell a lot? Like, what do you like most about mommy or daddy? You know, things like that, so that they can tell you what their perception is of you. And then, you know, this is how you create dialogue within your kids and feedback
within yourself to be a better parent. Co-parenting, it can be challenging, but in reality, it's very, very simple. If we all just be mature, want what's best.
And you would save so much money on the court system if you were just able to put it to the side. And it's like, remember that you guys are really one. At the end of the day, you're really one for this child. It's not, we all want what's best for our kids. And your best and his best may not be the same, but at the end of the day, it is the same because it's what's best for the child. So join forces instead of being each other's enemy for the child.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here, but I think before we get out of here, I think you should do like a prayer. I think a prayer to end this podcast. I think there's a lot of emotion. So let's pour out some good energy to our audience, to ourselves, and let the Lord heal a lot of the hearts of these parents that may be struggling to get along with each other.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you. You know our hearts. You know our struggles. You are our Father. Father, we ask that you just comfort us in this moment. I ask that you restore our minds, you restore our hearts, that you heal the broken. You hear our cry, you hear our need, and that you just break every generational curse right here, right now, that we no longer hold on to this bondage, this anger, this frustration, this anxiety, this hate in our heart toward one another, that you just break it right now, Lord, in your name, and that you bring us closer together, not just for our children, but also to seek you, Lord. Lord, we know that you are the creation of heaven and earth. We know that you do things for a purpose, and we are here to walk for your will. Lord, I pray this all in your name. Amen.
Amen. Jeez, I almost fell asleep right now, man. It was like so relaxing. I was like falling asleep.
That's the Lord bringing you peace.
But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. We hope that this conversation does help some of you. We want to know what has been your experience like in co-parenting. What kind of guidance or advice would you give other people, even or to myself or to my sister? And we
want to hear the good stories.
Yeah, we want to hear.
We know that there's good out there, and we want to hear that too, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. I know that. I've heard stories, and I think they're beautiful.
So let's just keep on staying positive, believing in each other, forgiving each other, and being the best parents that we can for our kids. So that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you very much for tuning in. We'll see you guys every Friday at 8 a.m. And are you dedicated? We see you guys on next one. Peace.